Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 421st meeting of the New York Comics and Picture-story Symposium. Um, Thank you for joining us. The symposium is an ongoing weekly series of artist talks that are always free and open to the public on the subject of comics, visual narratives, animation, or any kind of picture stories of any kind. It was founded over a decade ago by Ben Catcher, and receives funding for the presenters from the Will and Ann Eisner Family Foundation and the New School. I am letting people in as I speak here, keeping an eye on that. The format and the subject of the talks is completely open to the invited artist. So the symposium artists can talk about their own work or things from the world that inspired them or a technique, or really it's completely wide open in terms of format or subject. So it ends up making these very kind of intimate wonderful artist talks that are also all archived on the symposium YouTube page. So I highly recommend if you're interested in this talk or you know anyone who would be, who wasn't able to attend, I highly recommend looking at up the YouTube page and also looking through past talks that have been documented on there. It's a really wonderful growing archive of people working with picture stories and researching them and making work all around that area. My name is Lily Correa. I'm one of the organizers this spring, along with Bill Cardelopoulos, Austin English, and Ben Catcher. We're extremely honored to have Laura Park here with us today as part of the Spring Symposium, and her talk is titled,
Austin English isn't on this.
I, hi, I think I'm gonna ask everyone to just mute themselves. Um, uh, okay, sorry, recalibrating. Curiosity in Cats is the title of Laura's talk on the subject of observation and autobiography. Anyone who knows Laura's work knows how extremely talented she is with a nib and a brush, just incredible, phenomenal artist, also incredibly funny person as a human and also in her work, and just really able to gather meaningful, interesting nuggets from her environment and the world and put them into her work in a very special way. Um, I've known Laura about 15 years, and I still don't really know if she has just some kind of magical special magnetism for attracting really unusual things to happen, or is just paying attention in a way that no one else really is. And these things are happening all the time, but either way, they're very much in the work. And I think will be especially interesting in relation to this talk on observation, hearing from her about this subject. I am going to read Laura's bio and then I'll hand it over to her. Uh, let's see here. Laura Park is a cartoonist and illustrator. Her work has appeared in The Believer, Best American Comics, and the New York Times. A longtime Chicagoan, she now lives in a tiny medieval village in France. And Laura is actually speaking with us from Paris today, where it's currently 1 a.m. Um, so we're extra lucky that she's willing to meet with us and talk at such a drastic time difference. We'll be doing a Q&A at the end of the talk. So that's really a big part of the symposium is having this direct interaction with the invited artists and getting to chat after the presentation. So if you have questions, you can pop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end, or just keep in mind what you want to ask and you can do it after Laura presents. So I'm going to hand it over to Laura.
I okay, and Lily has disappeared, but maybe she is busting out slides. I do not have a great intro planned. And I encourage people to ask lots of questions that'll really beef this out. Are slides loading, Lily?
Yeah,
I
do you
think
want me
they
to
are.
start the screen share?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay, does that look okay?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay, good.
Okay. Because as she said, it is late here, but also I always have a lot to say, but the second I think it has to be formulated, I really draw a blank. So broadly, I noticed like through my work, there's just a lot of things about observation, and I actually know where that originates because as a kid, I read a lot of Sherlock Holmes books, and in it, he specifically talks about like observing small things and about how little details reveal the whole thing. And that was great for me as a kid, because it just kind of gave um, uh, me something to do, and it felt important. Like you have to notice the small things because it will tell something about the bigger thing. Um, and it was weird to think about it. It's sometimes, I don't know if it is for other people, it's weird to think about how many things are rules and ideas you form in childhood. And especially because so much of that relates to my art, it's weird to think that I've just carried through. So this is just a little comic, just trying to talk about like the little things, they, specifically looking down and like digging around on the ground. Um, and just kind of trying to pay attention to the world, which what is kind of what I'm going to try to talk about. And if we could go to the next slide. Oh, and this is a little, most of these are done in my sketchbook, pretty much everything. And so this is just a little diary comic about uh collecting lizard tails and catching lizards. But I thought it was interesting to it was weird thinking that there are certain ticks I've just always had. Um, and this idea that if you're just wandering around, even in a desolate field, you can find something interesting, which in this case is lizards and their weird tails. Um, the next slide. And this is a little fragment because this, I really don't understand how this has happened that when I was young, I really had a like tremendous amount of self-esteem for what I was doing, and I've never been able to recapture it, but at least I have continued on the habit because I do genuinely really like drawing. So that it's just that's just a mystery to me. So it's always interesting to sort of look at that. Next slide. Oh, this is another one about a kid. And there's a thing about observation for me that I think is also linked to anxiety because I've I was really afraid that I would lose my memory. And so I was making personal encyclopedias as a kid. Like I just had little notebooks and would make one for each letter. And sometimes it would just be like, you have to remember like the name of an insect or something. And it was fun, but I also think there was some sort of fear-based thing there. But the habit of putting things on paper and that being a really satisfying thing has just been a long habit. Next slide. Um, this is just like a little scrap thing I did. As I said, I do a lot of stuff in sketchbooks. I also tend to just draw on scraps of paper, but I've always liked this one because there's something weird about when you make yourself a comic character that it's you, but it's not, and also you can converse with yourself in a strange way. And I do think a lot of times, like besides wanting my own memories and to make my own like diaries, I often haven't seen things that really felt similar to my life. And so by making them, I'm like, well, now it exists. Um, I don't know if that's egotistical, but I for some reason this little scrap, I'm just like, oh, this is why I do it, because it's a way to um kind of converse with yourself in a strange way. Next slide. This is a really old drawing, back when I was still trying to make everything square. And that seemed like a great idea, and it just sort of slowly eked out. Um, it's just a little view of a city street I was on. Um, And I don't look happy in the drawing, but really, I didn't grow up in cities. And so the idea that you could walk down a street full of people and just this density of life and things to watch, like it's really delightful for me. So I think this drawing is also just a little bit happy for me to finally, this is like me in my 20s, and I was just happy to be living this kind of life that I really wanted. Next slide. Uh, I took scattered notes, but this is sort of like typical where as I said, they're in sketchbooks, and so it's just me working things out, and this is like a pretty typical little early diary thing where a lot of things happen. This one is weird. It's weirder now where for New Year's party we were shooting rats with BB guns and then apparently also shooting targets of bin Laden in the basement of myopic books. And so I just wrote it down so I would keep the memories. And then again, you have a little proliferation of little cartoon selves. And then I was noting because I was trying to figure out all the places I had lived in Chicago. And so, yeah, it's just a messy sketchbook page. Next slide. This is another one. And I think I just wanted to show that they're kind of like some things don't get finished because it's just really not planned out. It's just whatever. It's the most fun because like you just have this blank space and it's a sketchbook, so it's less intimidating than like a page where you're going to be making like some great comics page. It's just anything can go in a sketchbook. So this is just a series of memories of one day. I guess I was thinking about Gulliver's Travel, and then this instance where a guy did this really gentlemanly thing, and he hung onto a fence so I could cross him in the snow, and it just felt really nice. And then something about me yelling at myself at the top, but I just felt like this is kind of typical. Next slide. Uh, a thing I was noticing and looking through a lot of old things is that there are a lot of drawings where I do want to draw the environment, and I think sometimes I just want to make the scene, and I know the feelings in it, but I do not want to talk about it. And but they're sort of encoded in there for me. So this is just one when I was moving, and that's when you have to touch like all the objects of your life and wonder like, what kind of life is this? What kind of person am I? So yeah, this was one of those many moments. And I don't know why. I mean, I guess because it is an intense motion thing, because it's like making a portrait of the moment. And a lot of these things, especially the sketches, they're not really expressly to share. They're just to make it for myself. And I think it's also because through using all like the tools of comics um, and drawing, that's kind of where I understand how I feel about something or what's going on. Like I kind of I've said that it's like how cows have extra stomachs. Like I need the extra stomach of drawing and like working through it to actually know how I feel about what I'm experiencing. Next slide. Oh, this is just another, I'm looking at my notes. Um, I think just to show the process where this one has a mixture of memories, things that are happening in present day. Yeah, and just kind of mixing things up. This is me saving a bee, and I felt very heroic about it. And then also, I saw someone fart on the street and decided to document that. Um, Next one. These are more sketchbook pages, and I hope like I there's a lot of like weird yelling comments in my sketchbook pages directed at me but there's also like a lot of pleasure and like this. I think this is when I was learning to watercolor, so I was really trying to go for it. And these are just watercolors and drawings of the stuff in my room and my cat. Because I did say there would be cats, but I try to put cat in the title of anything. I do because I think it attracts more people because they're interesting. Um, Next page. Oh, and so yeah, this is another sketchbook page, and it's kind of a typical thing because again, this is like a processing thing where there's like present day thing, there's random drawings and notes, and then there's also childhood things like childhood memories. Um, which seem to come up more intensely if I draw them. It's like if you start drawing your childhood house, like suddenly you can remember all the smells of the place. I don't know if that's like typical to me or just typical to everyone. And with the, can I have the next slide? I wanted to show, I guess this is a bit of process. So on that page, there was this one panel. It was a moment that I had, and what happens a lot of times is just by filling up the sketchbook page, just doing whatever, I'll discover something that I want to expand on. So with the next slide, this panel um, led to the comic I did in Mome, which is the next slide, and um, I feel like that's readable enough if you have good enough eyes. Um, or if Lily feels like she wants to do some zooming, I'm not sure. So, as I said, it was the previous panel where I just had this moment of smelling like a smell that was really familiar to someone. And I'd heard that like smells really linked to memory. And as I was on the bus, I'm like, oh, this could be a nice way because I'm always like collecting. This was not on one bus, but these are all different people I had seen on the bus at different times. So I liked the idea also of each panel being like one passenger and then just putting me in the midst of it. Again, like the city thing, I really like the sensation that like you're one weird, complicated person, but also everyone is. And I love people watching. And the bus is a great way to do it. And yeah, so this was not one bus ride, but these are people that through like the weeks and years that I remembered them and I put them all there. So I could put them in there. And yeah, so that's a kind of a process thing. So the sketchbook really is like just like a workbook. And sometimes it's just like a little like you do it and then you realize like, oh, there are many other things you could build around it and then take it where you go. Next slide. Oh, and this is another example. This was from an earlier page. So um I do like people watching, and the reason I put this on there is there was a particular strange woman in my old neighborhood, and I think this is the first time I saw her because she had like the size of an orange or a very expensive peach. She had a big, meaty like tumor on her forehead, and she had wrapped her blonde bangs around it. So that's what the middle drawing is. Um, and then if I could have the next slide. Um, and this is another sketchbook page. And this is so what happened is eventually she worked at she owned a diner in my neighborhood. And because I wanted to become friends with her enough to ask her why she did this with her bangs, I would go to this diner a lot, and eventually she hired me to make like internet ads for apartments she was leasing, and she would give me like free food and free blueberries. And so, on the subject of curiosity, sometimes it's good to note things that are curious and then hang around and then try to get to know someone. So, we go to the next slide, it's more like a zoom in and yeah, so that's what this is just a diary comic of when I was broke. So I was doing a bunch of odd jobs, including listing apartments for this woman, Anna, who I got to know. And it was, I think she's passed on now, but it was nice to me that through looking through old sketchbooks, I found the moment where I'm pretty sure that was the first time I'd ever met her. And it stuck in my mind as something curious to find out about the day. Um, Next slide. And then I swear I did have specific comments, um, but they're kind of losing here. But uh, because I did not have a camera for the longest time, it's really I'm really happy that I have this habit because this was uh, an apartment where the cartoonist and my friend Aaron Renier, he also lived there, and it was kind of magical to be stacked up in there together. But I don't really have photos of this time, but I have so many drawings that I've done of the place and like us together. So this was a night we were feeding his dog potato chips from the balcony. And it's nice to have these memories. I know not everyone has a camera, so I don't know how other people experience memories or try to hold on to them, but I'm really glad that this is a way I did it, because I do have these. And that also might be another reason for the obsession is we didn't really have cameras when I was a kid, so there are a lot of things we don't have pictures of, so maybe this is also why I like doing it. Um, Next slide.
To ask a little quick question about this one.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering, so were you like across the street? Would you like be like, I'd like to capture this moment and I'll like stand across the street from my own house and render it and then like insert myself and Aaron into it? Or is it in your head that you're drawing? Or yeah, I'm just kind of curious about that.
It's a bit of both. I mean, like I lived there, so I knew like the window like setup.
Hmm.
So if it was something like more complicated, like maybe I would try to like get more like specific photos or something, but I also tend to have a really strong visual memory. But this is just literally like it was just a simple little building, so I did know what it looked like because I'm always looking at stuff.
Yeah.
Um so, and then like the other page where it's me at my table, I mean I probably was at the table when I drew that, which is weird, but I I know what it looks like.
It's so interesting though in terms of thinking of a camera or like when not having a camera, but like you're inserting yourself into it too, or just thinking of like when you're taking a picture you're behind the camera and you're not in it, there's a vacancy there, but here you're like inserted inside all of these, and it's interesting to think about where you were positioned when sort of like capturing that moment.
I mean, it's weird because I think that's like the blurring of memory because I'm remembering being in it, but it's not like I draw it as my eyes see it.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's because I tend to capture memories through drawing, so I do put me in it. I don't know really what it is. But I know like one of the things I like about drawing too is you connect to memories like when I was talking about like the smells or the childhood thing, and Linda Berry does stuff about that where you kind of access all the little like piece by piece you kind of fill in the whole scene. Um, and I do, I mean, because I remember being there and then because I drew it, it's like, it's really, like now if I'm thinking about it, I can remember like the peeling gray paint of the staircase there. And, I mean, besides like really liking these memories, it's also just like soothing to know like it's all still kind of there. Like a lot of the drawings, like there's weird, if I think about it more, like little tactile memories also get trapped in it. And I think it's kind of by drawing it and really sitting um with it that it really gets locked in for me.
Cool. Okay. Thanks.
Oh, and I wanted to talk about the fact that a lot of these, I I was sort of late to getting a smartphone, so a lot of these are by the consequence of what else are you going to do but draw? And I feel bad because I wonder if I do this a lot less. Like in looking through the old sketchbooks, it definitely was anytime I was at a table, I was like, well, why not? This was at Myopic Books, and I was like helping out there one night, and it must have been slow because I had time to do this. And then I think the next slides are all just kind of that, like just really directly just sitting down and drawing. And This was from a trip to New Orleans, and I did not have a camera, so this was the only way to be like, wow, this room is really pretty. And I do remember before a camera, if something was pretty, I would be like, oh crap, I have to draw this right now. Um, because there was no other way to keep the sensation. Um, and then I think all the next ones are just like little like drawing live things. Some of these, and seeing this, I'm kind of impressed by myself because I used to draw live at concerts. I definitely was drunk when I did this, and I drew more at concerts when they stopped letting you smoke because I like to do something with my hands. But this is a pretty solid drawing, and I'm pretty impressed that I was able to do that in a dark club. Um, and it's a nice challenge drawing. I like drawing bands because how do you capture like the movement? Like, I don't know. It's a nice challenge and it's a nice you're listening and it's kind of relaxing draw. I guess it's kind of like when people like stim or fidget around, like makes you pay even more attention. And like I said before, like it's a way to really engrave that memory in your head. And sometimes when I'm experiencing something nice, I really like to uh try to keep it. I think the others are just still more sketchbook. Yeah, more street musicians and because that's always, I mean, I think it's like keeping memories. It's interesting to try to draw something that's fleeting because it feels like, oh, you were lucky to even see it. And I have that a lot with music where it's like I was in the room and I got to hear these sounds being made, and it feels like very lucky. So I do like drawing like musicians a lot. The next one, next slide. Oh, this was sometimes I would meet up with other cartoonists. So this was with Jeremy Tinder in Chicago. And I think the sequence was I was waiting for him at the coffee shop and did the drawing on the left side. And then while we were there, we saw this guy get arrested. Um, and so then I drew the right hand side and Jeremy added a little drawing in there. So it's just sort of I don't know. I mean, you go to coffee shops all the time and draw. You don't always see people get arrested, but it's just um documenting the day, I guess. Next slide. Oh, and this is really documenting the day. It's this was from kind of a bad time, but it's also a thing um just a really gray period and life felt very claustrophobic, and so it felt natural to like put it in little panels. But I also like that you can just this was like a period where my back like was really bad before I had back surgery, and there was something about just like making it almost this I mean, not it's not like Muybridge or something, just kind of zooming out and thinking of the repetition and the smallness of life at that time. Um, so yeah, this one is what it's like if you have depression and back pain and yeah, and just a little page of it. And there were many days that were identical to that. But I think for me, again, like processing, it's just like a way to be like in drawing it. It's weird when I draw my little comics me, it's like I can access more of the feelings and maybe more empathy. So yeah, this is one of those little things. Next slide. Oh, yeah, this this is probably unkind, but this is how it feels whenever I go to work. This is how it feels at the start. It's always really hard. I think it was even this way as a kid. Yeah, it's a really, there's something about like before you even know what you're doing, feeling like it's not going to be good. Um, I don't do a lot of drawings about how once you get into it and you're not overthinking and you're just making the thing, nothing feels better than that because it's just sort of like you're not really you're not really in your panicked brain, you're more in the part of your brain that there's a weird sense of harmony. But I just wanted a way to depict what it feels like to start. Um, and that is what it feels like to start anything for me. Next slide. And not transitioning well on these subjects, but I wanted to say, because I noticed when going through my sketchbooks, there's a lot of like me basically yelling at myself, but I kind of recently realized that because I am self-taught, I am trying to teach myself and self-critique. Um, and maybe that makes it less weird that there's so much self-criticism happening. Um, and I do like this about drawing in comics that you can teach yourself. Comics is very like intuitive. And drawing, the interesting thing is that like you can try to form it, but everyone has their weird point of view and their weird method, and it'll just surface. It's like your own internal accent. Um, yeah, like in a lot of my sketchbooks, there's little notes to myself because this is how I learned to do whatever it is I do. And then they also just like make no sense. I guess this was a sculpture, and then there was an artist talk. So I was trying to take notes, and then I was thinking about poking slugs in the face because they turn into little nuggets, and thinking about them as a box of chocolates. And because you can draw, you can make that. So that's fun. Next slide.
Can I ask another quick question?
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering about like when you decide to move to the next page or just as you're collecting these different elements all on one page, like the slugs and the chocolates or like any kind of like connective tissue between things or when, does it need to feel finished to you or is there a relationship between the
Well,
things or is it more about like the duration of when you're working on it or
that's what I like because like I mean it's weird because like I feel like I spend a lot of effort trying to like build skills or control, but what I really like is that it's really random. Like you don't like in the sketchbook pages things go all directions and sometimes it really works and like even though it's not the intention to make like a beautiful sketchbook page or one where all the elements go together, sometimes it just falls together. Um, and it's all on gut instinct because like as the previous drawing, like there's a part of my brain that is way too critical and overthinking. And then there's a good like calmer gut instinct where it's like, and this page is done. And yeah, like and I like having a sense of discovery because you really don't know like it's not planned out. So like taking some notes here, then thinking about slugs, and then sometimes the elements relate, sometimes they make no sense together, but it's just, it's emptying the pockets of your brain onto the thing and seeing what's there. Um, so yeah, there's like really there's no set technique or rules and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think it's more fun that you just really have no control. You do not know.
yeah. I also like directionality of the text or of the different panels and stuff. It kind of like sometimes feels like fitting things in like a graphic way, and other times just seems like it was probably on your lap in a different direction or something.
Yeah, like it's just nice, like I think because I do overthink to tap into like that sort of, it's almost like doodling energy. You don't know, but there's part of you that does know. And I like I as much as it's stressful, I do like not knowing how it's going to turn out. Like I love happy accidents because I think sometimes you overthink things, and I think there's a sort of like the more you can let your subconscious do things, sometimes it really does like the great job. It's always better than overthinking.
Yeah. Whoop.
This is just another sketchbook page, and when I think this is a weird cartoonist thing where you make a lot of comics complaining about how you're not making comics or how it's a bad comic, but as the idea is to just like this is the day I'm having, so this is just like I now I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, you did do something. You made this page, but apparently I wasn't happy with it. But then on the I think this kind of shows like the weird tensions of life. Like there's this like being trying to do something and not feeling like you like it. And this comic is funny to me because recently, unsurprisingly, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and you can just see it in the comics. It's like, oh, your whole day like just like fled from you and just went down little paths. And so it's nice because I have my own little medical history there. Um, and I still have days like that. And then the next one was and this is a benefit of drawing because there would be no way to take a photo and try to capture the thing that happened. I was listening to records on my porch, which maybe is weird. It's really nice to do it. And then with this song I really liked, and then a spider came down and landed on my hand. And it was nice to be able to after that happened, be like, I have to get inside and draw this because this is such a nice moment, and it's so nice to be alive where you just have these like little special moments. So yeah, and I think it's a benefit of like doing like little autobiographical sketches because if you, I mean, I guess you could write it down, but it seems like it's so much better to draw it. And yeah, I think that's very typical of me where you have a frustrating day and then you have a moment where you're like, oh, life is so amazing. What a magical like thing it is. And yeah, that tends to be my two of my poles that I go to. Next slide. And this is more memories. I don't think I included a ton of them, but if I have like dinners with friends and stuff, I really like drawing them. And it's like a habit that usually I try to do it the night when I get home and try to remember all the details and put it together. Um, it's just like really pleasing. I think it's kind of a way of like just cementing it in. So this was just a nice moment. Um, and yeah, I don't know why that's a habit, but looking through like if I had a nice group dinner, I almost always will try to like do a drawing. And then these are some drawings. That's a drawing of a guy like while I'm on the bus. Uh, and sometimes I don't like if people notice you're drawing them, they want to see it, which is a bit of a uh it's not a good feeling because what if they don't like it? So a lot of times like this one I know like I remember it because I drew it that um I did that live, but a lot of other times I'll try to get a really good look and lock it into my short-term memory, and the second they're gone, try to like draw that as quick as possible to get it down before it fades from memory. Um and that's mainly because like I've had too many moments where you're drawing someone and they notice it and then they want to see it and it just feels I don't know, it feels weird. It feels weird. So the better thing would be to try to really get your short-term memory um fit and just burn it into your eyes. And that tends to work. Oh, I think those are pigeons eating chicken, which was very disturbing. Next slide. These are more uh little diaries. This was our first garden that me and my friend Erin planted, and we didn't get to eat any of that because our soil had too much lead in it. But it was really exciting imagining what we were going to grow, which obviously, like, I drew that thinking like, oh wow, and I don't understand how sunflowers work because that drawing doesn't make any sense. Um, and I think also during this period, I was a bit agoraphobic, so everything is really just like in the blocks I lived in. Um, yeah, sunflowers aren't short like that. And yeah, so more of the people watching are just directly from my yard. There's just some kids dancing down the street, and they were like perfectly in sync. It was really impressive. And then just a neighbor trying to get money from me, which happens if you're in a yard. Thanks for the zooms, Lily. Oh, this is another, these are sketchbooks from when I was in the hospital for back surgery. And I think there's a zoom on the other page. And I had a cell phone at that point, but they told me at the hospital to not bring in any valuables, which I took as like them saying like we're gonna steal from you. So I really came in only with a sketchbook, which was great because all you do is lie around. So what else are you gonna do? Um, and so these are just little diaries from the moment. And I always like noting what food I had, but I just like drawing food. And this was just, yeah, I've tried to pee when you're connected to a bunch of things. As you just have to, I mean, it's the thing with the diary, like what actually happened that day. And that was like the bigger thing to happen. And thanks for the Zoom, because these are also like, these are Moleskine sketchbooks and they're really small. My eyes are kind of shitty now, so I don't really tend to draw things this small anymore, but I do like drawing small because um, whatever boring day you've had, if you make it small, it's like you're not giving it much importance. So feels like okay for that. And as I said, things are just developing because I think something like this, I would just like draw out each panel as it goes. And sometimes you end up with too much words. Sometimes it's like, "Oh, I don't have the right amount of panels, and whatever happens, happens. It's like a sketchbook page. I think I was also impressed because at this age, I hadn't even been in a lot of like hotels. So it was like, ooh, a room I get to be in. How interesting. All this like mechanical stuff. I think the next one is just a close-up, but you just did a zoom, so screw it. Next slide. Oh, and this is just again, like I think I was there for, I think it was just a day, but as I did not bring a book or anything else, this is all I had to do. And so I thought I would draw the room, and I'm glad I did because again, like through drawing this, it's like I could re-enter this memory if I wanted to because um the shiny floors. And I do remember like with this drawing, I was also very impressed um with this room because this hospital was downtown. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, this is like the most expensive room I've ever been in. I've got robots. I'm like on the 18th floor downtown. There was like a couch, two armchairs. It was really luxe. Um, and yeah, so just getting that down in there. And I still do this. I mean, like I do feel guilty of just dicking around on my phone a lot now, but really before I think there were even more sketches because that was not an option. So maybe I should just do that again. Next slide. I don't know what explanation it is. Just think that's the process of autobiography. You're just trying to get all the goo out, and then you look at all the goo and you're like, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me? Um, and you don't have to answer that. So that's nice. You can just kind of sit in it. Um, And I like things like this because they're not planned. I guess I just like improvising things and seeing how, because this is obviously not something you would write out, but um, and especially if you struggle with certain like repetitive negative feelings, it's interesting sometimes to let like your visual vocabulary figure out different ways to approach it rather than being direct. And um, yeah, I don't know. I think this was on a scrap of paper, and I was just happy. I'm like, this is very accurate. So it's nice to surprise yourself. Next slide. This is just more practicing. I like to do a lot of lettering, um, and this is just kind of doodling out like, I mean, I guess you could just write it directly on a piece of paper, the feelings, but um when you draw and do things it's interesting because you get more ways to it's like more tones and colors to try to capture the feeling. And so I thought this one kind of in its own way like just really captured that for me. And because I do think a lot of these things are just me trying to understand how I'm feeling. And weirdly, if I draw it or write it out, then it's more evident to me. Because if not, I don't know. I'm wired weird.
Quick question about your
Yeah.
lettering. It's such a big part of your comics is the personality of the lettering, and I was just wondering if you're like looking at signage or like where you're kind of, pulling these fonts from, if it's like from your head or if it's a combination of that and looking at a lot of like historical lettering and signage and artistry around that.
It's a combination. I mean, like, I have a lot of books of old lettering and a lot of old things with beautiful lettering just because I love it. It's it I just really love it. And I don't really use, I mean, I would say like my process is if there's a kind of lettering I like, at first you just copy it a million times and then it just becomes something you can do. So like this, I'm sure like there's some like 1800s lettering there, I know, but like after you um I don't know, it's like maybe like when you're learning how to draw hands, like at first you just draw the hand a lot of times and then after a while like you yourself just know like you can just summon a hand. And for lettering, it's kind of pleasurable just to draw letters and then eventually they just get absorbed into you and you can just do them. Um, and I don't know, like that's how it works for me. And like lettering or decoration or patterns or something that I just like to copy because I find them very beautiful. And then eventually they get absorbed into something that's just part of like my vocabulary of how I express things.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks.
This is a different hospital thing. This is just getting tests, and it's a combo of a diary, an observation because there was a cowboy at the place, and this was really fascinating because I could only see his shoes until he left. And then just trying to, this is just taking another approach. It's strange, like when you have to get some tests, they're like, this is poison. And they will like mask up and try to stay next to you, and then they will just like put it directly into you. So, I think I did this when I went home, just kind of going through the memory of like what a weird day it was. And I think I might have drawn those bags of things while I was waiting. And then when I came home, added in the arm and the other letters and stuff like that. Because that often happens where I end the day like working in my sketchbook. Um, Yeah, this cowboy, because I could only see his shoes. So for me, it was very distracting, which was good from the test because I was just so eager to be like, what does this cowboy look like? What does he look like? So I was really happy that he left before me so I could see. Not his face, though. I'm sure he had a huge mustache, though. He sounded like it. This is another one with letters, and this is something like kind of typical, like it's not at all planned. It was just sort of like popping in and I realized like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm trying to do. And like I think um there's like documenting life, but then there's also trying to be like, how can I like live better? I thought it was pretty funny because there is no controlling life, even if you like document it or do things like it's just it's a wild thing. But that's a good like I don't lettering like it has feelings to me. It has emotions. And so it feels it's part of the language of comics too, so it feels really normal to like throw it in and use it. And again, it's really nice to work through weird little issues with all these little visual tools. Oh, this I wanted to talk about there are downsides to observing yourself too much. I was thinking about there's a thing called the Drost effect, which is named after Lily. If you want to play the Coco thing, you
Yeah.
can.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to unscreen share and then screen share that separate thing, and then I'll come back to
Okay.
it.
It's pleasing to look at. Let's go to it.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Hold one
I
sec.
think in trying to like do diaries and kind of like look at my life and like look through experiences and understand things. I think also I'm over scrutinizing myself. And I think sometimes, especially when I look through all my diaries and it's like, wow, I have the same problems non-stop. And I think sometimes you can make yourself crazy. So the Drost effect is this, where it's like the thing within the thing and it's recursive in infinity. And I do think there's something about like trying to work out your life in art where it's like seeing when you zoom in on a spider's face, it looks monstrous. And I think there's something like you can make yourself monstrous. So that's just it's why I would suggest sometimes I do not balance out my own thing with the actually like observing other people and the richness of life, which is, I think, the antidote to scrutinizing yourself so much. Um, this is so pleasing to look at.
Yeah.
And I think like the other photos are just other because I didn't know if people knew what this thing was. So there's a couple other photos of the common things, but it yeah, that's a fact like that thing really feels like when you get too in your head, like that's exactly it, where it's just like, oh my God, like I've locked myself in a like, series of mirrors. Oh yeah, this one's too. This is the one that I always knew as a kid. And then you could also cut it, see. And then this one, the baking powder. So this was me offering examples of it that you might have already seen. I love it so much. It is such a weird thing to do. I think all autobiography is somehow like that, where it's just like maybe you just have to make 3 loops of it, because if you make 10 loops of it, you really make yourself crazy. Again, trying to explore the weird feelings in different formats, and then sometimes make really nice packaging. Oh, and I think, yeah, this page I like. I think I have a close up on the next slide. Yeah, I like this page just because it's exploring the same things, but like through different approaches, which I think is a bonus of comics. Because really looking through all the diaries, it's like I have the same three problems nonstop, and I just keep trying to crack it. Um, and I have not followed through with this goal of if you must jerk off old woes, try new grips. So this is a page of me trying new grips. I do want to definitely I liked drawing like the war comic. It felt like really uh I don't know. Like I don't know why I did that, but I'm like I would like to do more about that because there's something fun about doing it, but there's also something heightened about trying to unfuck your brain that feels like really apt with that format. So um yeah, and it's just fun to draw that way. Because if you're just drawing your own little life, like you don't really get to draw yourself like shooting from an airplane a lot. Like it's just going to be you at a desk being like, oh God, I hate myself and I hate what I'm doing. But this is, yeah, I didn't follow through on these New Year's goals, but there's still time. And as you can see from the other thing, like this, it just, it evolves how it evolves. Like there was a big empty space on the other thing. Sometimes it immediately occurs to me what would go in there, and sometimes it doesn't. Um, and I like that. It's more pleasing when the page feels exactly right, but there would be no fun if that was planned, I think. You gotta like leave some chance. Um, Next slide. Oh, what did I do? Oh, well, again, I'm not really linear here, but this was I don't know how it is for other people, but because I grew up in a really hot place, when it is hot, I get more memories. So this was like walking around. It was a really weird sensation, like just remembering in California, there used to be a lot of silkworms and they would just come down from the trees. And so this is just trying to capture that sensation and the weirdness of um, being in a memory and then being in a place like the kind of like half reality. Um, and it's just really, um, I mean, it's nice to sit in that. It's nice to do autobio to be able to sit in these things. Um, because I really don't know how people do it otherwise. But I wouldn't know how to get through things without that. So this was just going through that memory, which is again, it's like a really it was weird just being able to access the memory of what those little like suctiony caterpillar feet feel like on your hands. Um, and I was happy how this turned out. And I was dicking around with gouache here, I see. And this was another uh, in my old neighborhood. It was in the middle of the night, and someone got shot and crashed their car, and it was just a really weird moment of uh, it. Like you're watching it first because you're like, is everyone okay? I don't know what's happening. And then you start seeing like, okay, no one is okay. This is really bad. And then it felt weird to be like, should I be even watching this? And I felt really conflicted, but I did watch it, and then I made this page trying to talk about the really weird feeling of feeling like I was just in someone else's horrible moment, and I shouldn't be. I guess it's about being a bystander in some ways, but yeah. Is that night drawing? No, this is all white paper or sometimes tan paper. Next slide. This is another on memory. I was thinking about this diner in Chicago called Standy's that had this really beautiful sign. And of course, I don't have pictures of it because I don't have pictures of that time. So I was looking for pictures of it online, and then um, so all the little scenes of it are done from photos I found online, and then all these memories came back. So the little comic in the corner is of that because it was right off the train, and it used to be where I did most of my people watching because it was 24 hours, which attracts really interesting people. Um, uh, just because you see people getting off work and having their dinners in the morning. And yeah, it was really beautiful. And I think I did this recently and it was kind of bittersweet because it was like not only is it gone, this time is gone, and I don't know if there's so many of these places anymore. Because there was a period in Chicago where you would still run into some like little bits of the past, and there were interesting people there. There was this guy who helped make that sign, and he was not a sign painter. I forget the term for it, but like um more like the electric signs. And he was explaining there's a code on the signs, and he was kind of a bastard because what he was explaining was he used to narc out other people who had illegal signs, so he could then get more work. So it was a good, but so I think I want to do some more things about this place, and this was just me trying to get back to that part of my memory. Yeah, it was a good place. Next slide. Oh, this is a recent one, because I live in France now, and I guess I just wanted to show that I've still kept the habit up. Um, this was I did a residency, an artist residency in Rennes, and we were in the back of this warehouse, and we saw all these kids climbing up the fence to go hang out on the roof and watch trains go by. And it, a lot of times in France, everything feels like super alien, like it's way different. And this was also like there are certain like feral parts of being young that feel like it's not that way anymore. But this sort of dumb stuff where with a bunch of your friends, you like climb up so you can just stand in some place that you're not supposed to be and hang out. That felt kind of timeless, and it was really nice being able to see something like so familiar. And the only different thing is, um, French teenagers, they really like to drink a bunch of like sodas and eat like sleeves of cookies around the end of the day. So like these kids like they were not even like getting drunk up there. They were eating cookies and drinking Coca-Cola. And it was a way to remember like the moment of being there because I was really happy to be in this residency. So like to remember like all the people there and yeah, just try. I don't know. Also, the light was really beautiful. Next slide. Oh, this is just showing more sketchbooks because I think someone asked, do I have like written diaries? I do a combo. So yeah, this is a weird choice of mine, but whatever. Um, so yeah, this is just a typical journal entry, and it's really hot in the medieval village in France where I live. So a lot of times I just run around naked because like that's efficient and there's no one around. So why not? And yeah, it's just funny because it's funny to draw yourself as like a little goblin. So that's just I think all the next ones are just sort of recent sketchbook things. Oh yeah, those plants all died. Oh yeah, this is just to show. So that's these are just showing like even though I'm in France, I'm still doing it. So this was just at a cafe, and they were really nice because um especially when you watercolor, sometimes people look because it looks like you're making like a big show of things. And the nice thing is they just really ignored me so I could just finish this. Um and yeah, sometimes you just trying to like get to build the vocabulary of what stuff looks like in France, which is a lot of weirder angles and more condensed. And it's nice to get back to that because it's just yeah, I don't know, it's just nice to like sit in a public space, do some people watching, and then just sketch out something. It's something to do. Um, I recommend it. I don't think there's very many slides left. Next slide. Oh, yeah, these are just like quick ones. Um, so these are a combo of like people I saw live and then sometimes just like really quickly after they're gone, like just drawing it up and trying to people here look completely different as they would and they move completely different. So this is just me in the process of trying to get all of that in. Um, they talk wildly with their hands, um, which is funny to me. Um, so just trying to, yeah, these are really quickly done. Oh, yeah, that's another little um, scrap comic because sometimes I do things on loose paper, and I think it's also like a good reminder to stop staring at my own stuff so much, which is a bad tendency because sometimes I go to do the diary, and then sometimes it's like I'm doing a self-vivisection, and it's not, it's really a fine line between like reflection and then I guess like recursive, endless looping. And I kind of only know the line when I've overstepped it and I realize I'm making myself a little crazy. So, yeah, sometimes this is like me making a little note to myself to look up from my own thing. Um, and I have to make the notes on little scraps of paper because obviously that's the only thing I'm paying attention to. And I think that's the last slide. We did it. We did the slides.
Yeah, we did the slides. Thank you so much, Laura. That was such a wonderful experience just getting a tour through your brain and hand and books. Really, really special experience. Thank you for that. Um, there's a bunch of comments in the chat. I think you answered some of the questions as you went, but maybe there's some that weren't addressed. Thank you for the compliment on the slide control, Joe. Um,
It was great. And maybe if you read out, I can also do the thing where I flip it and just show, because let me see. Okay, we're
Good.
doing it. We're doing it.
Doing
So
it.
these are just some sketchbooks and like I said, so like this is some lettering that I saw and I really liked. And so I'll just like I think I saw cinema and I'm like, oh, that's nice. So now it's just like I'll just keep doodling it until it becomes something I do. Um, and then yeah, there's a lot of journal stuff, random things, little decorative things. Oh, this was to show. So this is that comic of the residency in France. So this is kind of a big sketchbook for me, but it's a nice size. And then here's some other things, um, stuff in progress. And then some more sketchbook, kind of all sizes, just to show that some things never like get developed more. These are some illustration ideas. Window, maybe that's off of photos. Um,
It's wild seeing
oh,
you
there,
so quickly because there's such
oh,
incredible drawing.
uh, uh,
Can we get closer to
oh,
them?
yeah, okay. So I think what happened here is I drew that first to remember the night, like kind of lock it in of that, and then the next day I did this.
Hmm. Wow.
Um, Let me try to find uh yeah, I can go more in this is like planning for something. Um, oh, this is about a yeast infection. That's fun. Um, Let me see. This is my and the like the loose scrap thing, like these are like I've been really into drawing like clouds and rumpled fabric. So there's just because I think I hope I put through that I really love drawing and it's a fun thing for me, even if I make it like needlessly stressful. This is a recent oh, this was a guy, this was the strangest thing. This was we were driving through a tunnel in Paris and this guy had his setup, he had laundry out. And then he had like a sofa and a little side table with snacks. And we were feeling horrible for him, like, oh my God, he lives in this tunnel, like with all this traffic, and people are giving him money. And then when he turned around in his back pocket, I could see he had an iPhone 14, and it was really confusing. This was a dinner I went to, and I will want to draw it again later. So, like, this is a note, like, where I'm like, the wall was there, these people were there. And then, usually that's enough for me to remember it because you'll just sit and then think, what, when I see that person, what are they wearing in my head? And so you can kind of like walk through that memory again, or at least like that's how it works for me. These are notes and yeah, all directions. More fabric. Yeah, I'm just really into this lately. Love that. Weird fabrics and trees.
Wow.
Gross stuff. Guts.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Notes. Um, I don't know if it's, I'm like, is this one interesting?
Yes. It's fascinating. We're building up. We have like a little pool of questions in the chat.
Okay, we can go to questions.
But I'm
Yeah, these are weird, hairy women. Um,
Are the ones that are out on the table, are these all from a certain era or like how did
these
these?
are just these are recent. So, oh yeah, this was the guy who, um, a strange guy from Angola. These are some. And sometimes they're notes like I want to go back and make a comic about it and just trying to put enough so I can remember it later. Or I had a sinus infection, which is expressed by a swan in my nasal passages. I don't know. It's because you can draw anything. Strange cat ladies.
Have you ever
I don't
lost
know.
have you ever lost a sketchbook?
No, no, I would oh, I
Or
think this is me sick again. Um, and I like to draw myself really gross. It's very fun for me. I felt like my double chins were quadrupling. More lettering.
Well, one of the questions in the chat was about this. Where is it? Let me find it. I think the scale of your sketchbook. So you always use this kind of smaller handheld.
Yeah, because I want to carry it around with me. So, like this one is my recent one. Um, it's not so thick, and then because I need to carry around, uh, like right now, my watercolor kit, like I made the big one. I have smaller cases. But obviously this is a big pain in the ass to carry around. Um, and yeah, these are supplies. And I need hmm, sorry, I can pay attention. Um, they're not I don't know, I wouldn't know how to carry around a huge one. And also because I used to like to draw what I see, if you bring out a big thing, like it's like inviting people to look at what you're doing. But just having something portable enough. And the thing I was trying to find is something that can do ink and watercolor, but isn't so expensive that I don't feel like I can journal in it because it's helpful for me. I've had periods where I have the one that I journal in and the one that I draw in, and I do not like this procedure. It needs to all be in one, but if you buy a $30 like sketchbook, that's a little bit like, do you really want to complain about your sinuses on this like nice paper?
Let's
Um,
see.
Hit me with the questions.
Okay, here's one. Chris Sullivan sent this as a direct one to me to ask you. So he says, like in the comic Bone, you have a slightly different line and style. Like you as a character have a slightly different line and style than the other characters in your panels. Could you talk about this difference?
Um, yeah, so the character, like, I don't have a nose, and but it's kind of a version of a way I used to draw myself when I was younger, and um, it's more like it's a weird kind of caricature, and I don't draw other people that way because that is not how I see other people. So, hopefully it works. I used to really question, I'm like, is that going to be weird? And then I just thought, like, it feels right to me. Like, my gut says it's okay that I look different from other people. Um, but yeah, like someone recently said they just noticed that I don't have a nose in my character. I'm like, how would you not notice that? But that's amazing that they didn't notice it. And I can't do it now because there's some sort of like that little character feels like me, but the more like I've done things where I try to draw myself more accurately, and it just gets weird because I can either draw myself as that or draw myself as like really gross. These are
Yeah,
the two things I can do.
I feel like we see the like kind of supernatural or like these kind of like surreal versions of yourself in some way of like highly rendered watercolored, pieces that do feel different than the like caricature or the like, yeah, the comic.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like you really can't control how that happens. And I do like that. I like that like on one level, like you can control so much with drawing, but there are other things, it's like your handwriting. It's like that's just how it's gonna be. And it's why I like seeing other people's work because it's like they also can't help it. That's just how it's gonna be.
Let's see here. Also, if anyone just wants to ask directly, you can unmute yourself and ask or say, I want to ask a question. That's totally uh open. Let's see. Shelley asks, have you changed any materials or practices since moving to France? I'm thinking that their art supplies must be good.
Oh, their ink is shit. It's yeah, it's bad. French cartoonists tend to use way different supplies than we do. And the thing I noticed about American cartoonists is because we're kind of informal and um have like I think we're basically teaching each other. Like there was a period where everyone had the Pentel pocket brush because one person got it and told everyone else it was a good thing. So we all got it. Um, it's the same with a lot of supplies I had. And a lot of French cartoonists like will use these liquid watercolors, which I don't like because they really they're good for working fast, but they will fade immediately in the sun. So I don't use that. It's been hard trying to find what is the medium price paper that is the same as some I used to use, but I don't use I wanted to use French supplies, but their ink is really bad. So I tend to use like Japanese ink, and then the nibs I use are all like vintage nibs, which you used to be able to get for very cheap. And because everyone got into doing like horseshit calligraphy where they're like live, laugh, love, all those nibs now are like $10 each. And it's I'm glad I hoarded when I still could, because before you could get them for nothing because no one wanted these things. And then people got really into it, but maybe it's edging out. But yeah, it's hard to find supplies because using nibs or ink or even certain papers, like no one really does that anymore, so they get more and more rare. Japanese supplies are really good, but the French supplies are not working for me. I tried.
What kind of nibs are you? Like, didn't you have one? I remember you getting some on eBay many years ago.
Yeah.
Supply.
Um, I like these. Oh, I don't want to drop it. There are these, they're called Lady Falcon because falcon nibs are, it's like the block, falcon nibs are usually bigger. These are smaller, so they're ladies. And I like them a lot. Recently, I was trying an old hunt nib, and it will be bad if I really love it because now it's really expensive to get. So I don't want to fall in love with more of these things. But the older nibs tend to be better quality than the more recent ones because people used to use them more. And I mean, it's really hard to break them, so you can just scrub them down with a toothbrush, and I have enough, but it's also because none of the ones they really make now, I don't find them really good, so that's also why I use a lot of old ones. So, supplies.
Let's see. There's a question from Carolyn. What's the best place online to see your work? Any autobiographical book in the works?
I am working on a book, and um I am the worst at putting my work out there. There's a lot of it on um my old Flickr. There's some of it on Instagram, which is a horrible way to view things because it really, you can't like zoom in. But if you go to my Flickr, I think a lot of it is on there, and you can definitely look at it large on there. But I am working on a book, and my mini comics I think are like out of print, really hard to find. I'm not good at getting my stuff out there. And I will not build a website because now you don't have to. And I'm so happy to have waited that out because I never wanted to and used to have to, and now you don't, and I'm never going to do it.
So there. Oh, wait, so if they look up Laura Park Flickr, it'll come up?
I
Or
think it'll come up. Yeah.
was Featherbed the name of it before, right?
Yes,
Is it still
it was. And because I had that name, I also was given a ton of free feather beds. And so not so dumb now, huh?
um if anyone else has questions you want to just unmute and say or add to the chat, I think we got to all the ones that were on here. But yeah, now would be a great time. I have you answered some of the questions I had written down, but one I was wondering that is in relation to doing a book is just like thinking about keeping a sketchbook like this and thinking about audience or sharing it, where like a sketchbook is usually like a private thing, a way to preserve things or memories, but also like drawing in public is like you kind of mentioned, like kind of beckons people or people are curious about it and will talk to you. Um, and also publishing them in a very public sketchbook is a really different thing than keeping it privately. Can you talk about like how you think about sharing these or how private they feel versus public?
Um, I mean, I feel like I just try not to overthink it, you know, because if you think about it, you're like, oh, this is insane. Um, and I mean, I think things are usually best, like the better things I do are when I am just making it for me or because it's like come up kind of whole and it feels like it needs to be made, and then decide afterwards where it's gonna go. Um, and like because I don't feel the need to share every single thing I make. Because I am really like someone who figures out what they're doing in the midst of all the other things. Um, and so, and there's something about like some things come out and they have a distance. Like they feel like um I'm attempting to like there's some things you're trying to communicate to yourself, and there's some things that feel like in a weird way like you're trying to communicate it like for the record or something. But yeah, I don't know. Like there's definitely some things I don't share. Um, but I still like make it as a comic or something for me. But I've always liked, I think also because I like getting peeks at people's like, I've always loved diary comics or like when you get the books of people's letters. So I think in a weird way, I'm kind of comfortable with it. And also because it's not all of it, there's still like, um, and I just try not to think about it because if you think about it in advance, like you will make yourself crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Um, let's see. Doo, doo, doo. Zara asked, do you pencil before you ink or just go to the ink in your sketchbooks?
So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Like it's really yeah, there's no like big rule in it. Like I used to not pencil at all, and like when I look at the other ones I'm like, damn, like those are really tight for not. But there's something interesting like when you don't pencil it, like you have to like like you play an interesting game because you better know what you're doing. And sometimes that's fun. Like just to see like what's gonna happen. Um And when I'm making something that's more final, or like I have the idea of the page or like the certain things I want to do, I will pencil it, but I always change things as I go. Like there's always way more text. And because there's what I think I want to say, and usually when I ink the lettering, I just start jetting out stuff because you don't need all of that. So it's um yeah, I don't, it sounds like a weird process, but it mainly works, except when it doesn't and you have to redo things. But
And kind of on that material note, there's another question, just about if you're like pulling out your nibs and jar of ink when you're out drawing live in your sketchbook, or do you have like a travel pen, or like are you making the full spread?
um, lately I've been using when I'm out these like cheap carbon desk pens because it's waterproof ink, so you can watercolor over it. I don't love them because they're not as good as nibs. Um, I used to usually carry around nibs and like a very small bottle of black ink, but I just went through a period where I was weirdly self-conscious of people because like people were like, "What the fuck is that?" And um, ideally, when you're drawing, like I like to pretend I'm invisible, because you're looking at people. What you don't want is them looking at you. But yeah, lately I've been using these like little travel pens, and I do have a smaller watercolor kit. Um, but yeah, like I used to carry around more nibs, and if I know that there will be like a table and a good reason, I do try to because it's just a different way of drawing. It's slower, so you will think more about the lines you're going to make, and then you have to pause while it dries, so the different process, but it's more pleasurable.
Um, oh, they say thanks, that's helpful. Um, uh, I just had a question about having a camera now that you have a phone, smartphone, right, with a camera on it.
Yeah.
Does that
Not
change?
as good as the Tunnel Man, but it is an iPhone 12.
Nice. I was just curious if it changes, like now having that around with you, does it change the type of things that you want to draw? It definitely seems like it would affect like the slide at Myopic Books where you're like, there's no way for me to just like kill time or do other things. I'm just gonna draw environment, but
Well, it means like sometimes you can take little photos and know that like, oh, okay, like I don't have time to draw it, I'll do it later. So you can do like little notes. But what I find is like, I mean, I don't know how I could get myself back to it before, but I know before I had it, um, the way I paid attention to the world around me was different. And I feel like I was more locked in. And I did like it, like, because you're just like, one, you're kind of like, there's a kind of useful boredom. Um, so you're just like, let me just look at people and, you know, try to see like like the little details, what's going on with them, imagine the story, like, and I do miss that kind of like weird, meandering and also not having access to answers because now like I will just like jam online like what is this? What is this? And um there was a useful thing before where you didn't know and you would just let it kind of like rattle around like a rock tumbler, just sitting in there, and yeah, I kind of hate that I have a phone, but now I feel totally anxious if I don't have it. Because I do miss but I wonder sometimes like I'm like, is that just like being younger, like everything is brand new? Um, but I do think because I didn't like grow up with technology, like just staring at things and trying to wonder about it, um, was how I grew up. Because what other option did you have? Like there was a lot of buses to wait on and nothing to do. And sometimes I do try to purposely get at it. Like a nice thing is like France like really embraces people watching on the terraces outside. All the chairs point towards the street because they know you want to look at the people. So they don't even hide it and they will stare at you too. Um so it's nice to feel like, oh, like it's agreed on. Like we're all curious about the people. Um and so sometimes it's nice to take advantage of that, but it's weird because you can't come to the same assumptions because I don't know French stuff. I don't know, like, you can't pull together the same stories because I don't know everything happening here. Um, but yeah, I have more, I mean, I take the weirdest photos. Usually it's very gross stuff I see at the street. I take a lot of photos when I think I'm like, this is definitely human shit, not dog shit. Which you see a lot in Paris, both.
well, on that on that note, I just realized it's 2:34 in the morning for you. Um, and it's I don't know, I feel like I could infinitely shock silence on that one. Joe says. I feel like we can infinitely ask you questions, but I wanna maybe it's a good time to curtail the evening. But I just that was so incredible to get an insight into your work and hear your thoughts on it and just kind of get to tune into how closely you pay attention to the world. And I think Laura just left the left the event.
I just did
Oh, you're
something weird. I
back. You're back.
I touched something. I was trying to see if that was Joe Derry in the chat, and then everything went weird. Because we have multiple good Joes in here. There's
Yeah.
Joe Ullman, but I think Joe Derry too.
Um,
Uh,
well, um, yeah, wonderful people. Thank you everyone for coming to this. And again, thank you so much, Laura. This is our last talk of the spring symposium season, and I can't imagine a better way to end it. And then we're working already on the fall season, so that'll be posted probably later in the summer. But thank you so much, Laura, and thanks everyone for coming.
thank you everyone who came, and thank you Lily for inviting me, and thank you for the questions.
Bye, everybody.